Welcome to Buddha Enlightenment. Have you ever wondered why happiness always seems just out of reach? Today, we're diving deep into the Buddha's teachings on why we often fail to find true happiness and how you can change that. Ready to discover the path to lasting peace and joy? If there is something in common in this world that all living beings search for, that is the happiness. Like to be happy, seek happiness in this world. If I ask from you, would you like to be happy in your life? What will be your answer? You will say, of course I want to be happy in my life. I want this peaceful state you need to be in. That is your answer. That is the answer of all living beings. Buddha says that all living beings likes to be happy, and they seek the happiness. If I really think about our life, we're in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. Let me tell that again, we're in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. That means we're pursuing happiness, we're chasing and we're seeking for happiness, but yet not found it. So what is the reason for this not finding happiness? Why we don't find happiness in our life? We're seeking it, we're fighting for it, but we don't find it. What is the reason? Well, the Buddha teaches us that we're finding or we're seeking this happiness from a source, that the happiness does not exist, because we're seeking happiness from external world. We're seeking happiness from this materialist things. When you seek happiness for materialistic things or external world, you get pleasure, but that is not happiness. Pleasure is something temporary and it gives you this instant gratification, but in happiness, the happiness is long-lasting and it gives you this happiness or the content meant about yourself. So that is why Buddha teaches us that you are finding the happiness from a source where the happiness does not exist. So the more you find it, the more you become frustrated. So will we ever be able to find happiness in our life? The Buddha answered this question. He says, yes, you can find happiness in your life. How to do that? If you look closely to the first and the second verses of Dharmapada, Buddha says, if one new with an impure man speaks of acts, the suffering will follow him like a cartwheel following the ox. If with an impure mind done speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him. And in the next verse, Buddha says, if with a pure mind one speaks or acts, the happiness will follow him, like a shadow following a man. So that means the happiness and the sadness entirely depends on the purity and the impurity of our mind. When our mind is pale, we can find the happiness. So how can we find, or how can we gain this purity in our mind in order to find the happiness? Well, to the teachers ask, there are a lot of things that you cannot make your mind appear. So today, I'm going to share with you few things that can give you the happiness in your life, that you can find the happiness in your life. Fasting, accepting the reality of life will give you the happiness. Life is full of ups and downs. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes we have bad days, sometimes we have beautiful memories, sometimes we also have miserable memories. Life is not something that is going equally every day. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. When you realize this reality, you can face these situations successfully, right? It is not always this bad experience makes us frustrated. It is our reaction towards this bad experience makes us frustrated. Whenever you get a bad experience or a bad situation, tough situation, difficult situation, you have two choices. So either you can focus on the pain and feel miserable about that situation, or you can focus on the lesson that bad situation teaches us and learn from it and start growing your life. So if you accept the reality of life, it is not temporary. Sometimes the people around you are not in our control. We cannot control their reactions. We cannot control their opinions. So when you realize these situations, you can face those situations successfully. That is one thing, accepting reality of the life. Number 2, Buddha said, practicing generosity is a major practice in Buddhism. In Buddhism, the generosity is known as dana. Dana, Buddha says that you have to give without any expectations. We have to give and we have to dedicate towards others without expecting anything in return. That is one thing that we have to practice most of the time. We like to hold on to things or gather the things towards us. That is what people think. When you gather more, when you collect more things, you will get rich and you will gain happiness. But that does not give you the happiness. It will give you the pleasure, but it is temporary. So what we have to do for this is be generous, give, help others, dedicate a part of your life on behalf of others. When you do that, when you become more generous, let's say like this, you give some foods to offer a person. I'd say like that, when you see that person is having those foods and overcoming his hunger and making his life much better, you can be happy by seeing that. When you become happy, like that, you feel happy about yourself, right? Nothing can give you that happiness like by eating a good food, by dressing a nice dress. You cannot gain that happiness. You don't feel happy about yourself right after, let's say, after 100 of years later, maybe 10 decades later, when you think about that incident. I gave this food to this poor person. When your mind that you'll feel happy event, then you feel happy. That means happiness is long lasting. So Buddha says, be generous, help people, do something nice every day for a person. That it's one thing we can do. And number 3, forgiving. Forgiving is one of the most important things that we can do to create happiness in our life. We have to forgive ourselves. Also we have to forgive others too, because forgiving, when you forgive it, doesn't mean that you are saying okay to others' mistakes, it's okay. No, you're not saying like that. When you forgive, you make your heart freeze. So when you forgive, it's not for that person, it's for you. And also we have to forgive for ourselves. There are so many mistakes that we all have done in the past. If you hold on to past, and if you make this present moment miserable, that will not give you the happiness. So what do we have to do? Whatever the bad thing that we have done in the past, we have to have this ability to forgive ourselves and start a lover again. Well, have that ability, right? Well, have that privilege to start our life again and make it a better one. Okay, so no one is perfect in this world. Well, have done mistakes. One thing that we have to do is to forgive and start doing good things. So these are 50 things that we can do to create happiness in our life. And also there is one happiness that is called the ultimate happiness in this world, that the Buddha teaches us, that is called Nibbana. So nirvana, that is the enlightenment, when you realize about the reality of this life. And when you are moved this desire, all the craving that arises within your mind, then Buddha says that is the ultimate happiness. Simply then Nibbana, that means removing of the desire, anger, and the delusion of the mind, is called the enlightenment. So that is the highest level of happiness that we all can reach. So when you practice these practices, when you engage yourself in wholesome state, that will create you the happiness in the life. So practice these things and make your life a happier one. Thank you for watching this video on discovering true happiness. Remember, happiness doesn't come from external things. It starts from within. By accepting reality, being generous, and practicing forgiveness, you can unlock lasting joy. For more teachings from the Buddha and ways to find peace in your life, make sure to subscribe to Buddha Enlightenment. Together, let's walk the path to Nibbana.